Mike. Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1627 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Building Toronto Skyline, a podcast and book from Nick Ainis from Fusion Corp. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Joining me today, making his Toronto Mic debut, is the freshest, the latest sponsor of Toronto Mic'd. This is Nick Ainis.
Yo, yo, yo. I'm in the house.
Nick, listen, I am excited about this. Are you ready to make your Toronto Mic debut?
I'm here. I'm already,
You're early.
I'm early, yeah.
So we were going to do this at 9, and I saw the Nick Ainis big red machine parked outside on this unnamed street. Yeah. I saw it at like around 8:30. So are you like? Did you wake up with that tingly feeling? Like, let's go. It's go time.
I said to myself, I gotta get up. I gotta get up. Gotta get out. I'm honored to be 1,627, which is an amazing experience.
Thank you,
Toronto Mic.
Thank you.
But you know what? I'm very excited to be here. But I just want to say, we got to change that intro for me. So,
okay, well, look, I have my Google Doc open. What would you like it to say? So this is what I say right now. Let's hear
it.
Okay. Building Toronto Skyline, a podcast and book from Nick Ainis from Fusion Corp.
Yeah, I think it's an emphasis on Fusion Corp. We have to say I'm building Toronto Skyline.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Fusion Corp.
From Nick Ainis, sponsored by... Okay, I'm making the edit right now. I have a Sir Jerry Levitan. That's my next guest, and he's going to have this new intro. Sponsored by Fusion... So this is how it's going to read now.
So let's hear it.
Building Toronto Skyline, a podcast and book from Nick Ainis, sponsored by Fusion Corp.
Yeah, Fusion Corp Construction Managers. Construction Management Inc. Construction Management Inc. That sounds okay.
That sounds great. Okay, so now I'm going to do it one more time.
So now they know that it's sponsored by Fusion Corp, and it's all about me, obviously, and those are two good things.
Well, Nick, I want to introduce you to the FOTMs here and let them know who is this white knight, so to speak, who stepping up to help fuel the real talk here in Toronto Mic. You did attend a TMLX event.
I did.
You attended
all your buddies out there.
My buddies. They are
all the weirdos.
The FOTMs. You're now an FOTM.
Am I allowed to say? I'm allowed to insult your audience?
You can say anything you want. Yeah. If you think it's good business to insult the FOTMs, go nuts. But let me just set the table.
It could be very good business.
Attended TMLX 16. That was at the GLB Brew Pub at Jarvis and Queens Quay. And I did witness, you had a passionate conversation with the former bicycle mayor of the city, Lanrick, and you were talking about bike lanes. But what I really respected about you is you came in with one viewpoint, you listened to a bunch of reasonable people, and I felt at the end of this event that you had opened your mind to the beauty, the safety, the progressive nature of bike lanes in the city of Toronto. What say you about all this?
Well, first of all, I did have a great time at the event. It was amazing. And you got a nice group of people working with you, even though I just called them weirdos.
And that event was capped at 40. So we,
Yeah, it was really nice. It was really nice. So I think at the end of the day, Mike, you have to listen to all the parties. You have to get all the information, despite maybe some strong opinions that you have on a subject matter. And I think you have to, look for some common ground. Is a good way to put it.
keep an open mind.
It's a compromise somewhat, right? Everything's a compromise. So, I mean, no one's going to be happy, but people have to be somewhat happy. It's not fair to the bikers because I can see their point of view. They have to be safe, for one thing. But we can't shut down Toronto either. So where's the sort of middle compromise, right?
Well, I thought it was great that because I've talked to other anti-bike lane people who come in and they're kind of rigid in their stance. They're married to their position and they won't hear you out. And I just appreciate that you have an open mind and you'll have a conversation,
yes,
and that you are willing to move your position if you evolve in your thinking on different topics.
That's why we have a great relationship, right, Mike? Because you're on one side of the spectrum and I'm on the other side of the spectrum. Right. I guess
and we meet in the middle.
And we're able to have these great discussions, right? And we don't have to be right or wrong and or right or left. And we're able to hear. We don't always agree, but we can have a nice discussion about it. Whereas some people, you see people online, they're nasty and they're crazy and they're posting.
Looking for a fight.
People have a right to their opinions. People have a right to like what they like, and that's it.
Well, look, I'm going to have one of those conversations with you today. Basically, I have some pointed questions because we have to introduce who are you? What is your expertise? And then I have some specific questions. I am holding a copy of Building Toronto Skyline. Yeah. Obviously, I have questions about that, but I have questions about Battle of the Skyscrapers because you have a new book, and I have questions about that. But just please tell the listenership who are who is this?
Who am I?
Who is this guy who went to a TMLX event? Now he's making his Toronto Mike debut. He's sponsoring the program. If you want to sponsor Toronto Mike, Mike at torontomike.com. I'm looking for great partners like Nick Ainis here. Who the hell are you, Nick?
Well, don't talk to me like that.
I'll fix it in post.
No, leave it. You got to leave it in there. So who am I? So, I'm a Toronto guy. I was born and raised in Toronto. My history goes back to the early 1900s.
Is that true?
No, it's true. My great grandfather came from Greece, and he was a Macedonian, where I guess there was some battles that were happening. There was an annexation by Greece, so a lot of the Macedonians left Greece. That's in northern Greece, and he came to Canada. And he was a naturalized citizen in the early 1920s. So our family comes back. We go back a few generations, and then in the 1950s, my dad came to Canada and met my mom.
What high school did you attend?
I went to Richview Collegiate.
Hey.
Richview Collegiate, very popular school.
So you're an Etobicoke guy.
Yeah, I'm an Etobicoke guy. So actually, this area right here was settled by my great grandfather. New Toronto. It used to be called New Toronto, if you know the history.
Well, it's still called New Toronto, this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Of course I know the history. You know who you're talking to, Nick.
Yeah,
I know the history.
You live here, right?
Come on. I even know that the New Toronto people and the Mimico people would line up on Dwight and they'd have battles.
Yeah, I'm ready to battle.
Well, which side are you on?
Well, obviously New Toronto. Well, the history is that New Toronto was rivaling Toronto for industry. And that goes back to the late 1800s.
This, you're talking about Goodyear and some of these.
Yes,
huge, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So they were battling for the industrial to be the industrial heartland or the new heartland of the industry, and that's how this whole area started up. And it was very prosperous up until probably the 1950s, 60s, and then it went into decline because I think most of the industries were supported by rail, and then we got all the highways and everything like that.
That's a fascinating little history of New Toronto.
Yeah, and you see how areas develop, go into decline, and get redeveloped. It's becoming a very popular area for families to live in, and so on and so forth.
You get to be near the lake.
Yeah, you're near the lake. That's
Beautiful. Right. Now, tell me about Fusion Corp. Exactly what does Fusion Corp do, and when did you found Fusion Corp? I want to hear some Fusion Corp.
I didn't finish my story, so I went. So
my apologies.
Yeah, you better be. So I grew up in Toronto, and led a kind of crazy lifestyle. Young people, they go to high school and they go to parties, and then they go to university, and then they go to parties.
Right.
So I went to Ryerson. I studied architecture at Ryerson. I almost actually flunked out, almost. And last ditch chance, I went to my dean, and he said, "No, there's something wrong. Let me see what's going on." And he fixed a couple things for me. Not in a sneaky,
well, did you make the
way.
dean an offer he couldn't refuse? Is what I.
Well, no, nothing like that. Okay. So he really helped me out, and I had to go back and retake an exam, a law exam.
Okay,
I did that, and that was my turning point, actually.
The TSN turning point for Nick Ainis.
So after that, that year, the following year was my last year, my fourth year, and I got on the dean's list the following year. So I really applied myself, and it was great.
And you almost changed your name. Almost changed your name to Art Vandelay.
And I graduated.
Okay, but you didn't become an architect.
No. So there's a couple of streams of study in architectural science at Ryerson. You can go into project management. You can go into design. You can also go into building science. So I chose project management. I think I told you about this on the last show. There was a nemesis that I had in the university, and we were competing with each other, and he worked for a developer, so I went to work for a developer.
Wow. Yeah, and by the way, last episode, I got to chime in once in a while to give a little context, but you're referring to your excellent podcast, Building Toronto's Skyline, which we'll talk more about soon, but that's what you're referring to there.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. Yeah, so then after that, I worked basically in the construction and development community. I built condos. I started in the condo industry. My first condo was at Bay and Cumberland, or Bay Yorkville area. And it was, I haven't looked back. So I worked for a bunch of developers, and then at some point I decided to go into my own business. For some reason, I always wanted to, I don't know, maybe be rich. Everybody wants to be rich, right?
Well, a lot of people do want to be rich. I think I do many things to ensure that doesn't happen to me.
Well, you're one of a kind.
When everyone's going one way, sometimes I got to zag the other way. But
well, listen, the key here is, and we're going to talk about a lot of other things related to what I'm about to say,
sure, is
that you do things that you love to do, and if you're passionate about something, that should be, use that energy into something that you have to do every day.
Couldn't agree more.
Why go to work and hate your job? Instead, do something you love. And it's not really work at the end of the day.
No, that's ideal. If you can do what you love and still put food on the table, still pay the rent.
Go for it.
Still buy that Fusion Corp condo development. Okay, so you're developing condos.
Yeah, well, Fusion Corp is a construction management company.
Okay.
Primarily, but we do our own developments. I have some of my own development projects.
Well, one I want to ask you about here, and then I have some very specific questions, especially about the current state of the condo market. But you have a excellent, a new development in Orangeville, 160 on Broadway. And you can go to 60, it's numeric 60 on Broadway.com to get all the details. And that's at Orangeville. Yep. But that's an example of a recent launch, I guess you'd call that.
Yeah, it's a recent launch. It's with one of our developer partners, and we're always we're leading the way in terms of whatever needs to be done for that project, and it's quite exciting. So.
See, if you weren't a sponsor, I'd be looking at you like you got to turn off the bells and whistles on that laptop. But because you're a sponsor, I'm going to let it go.
Well, I turned it off.
Are you going to make me Orangeville, Mike, and put me in a nice new condo in Orangeville?
Well, you're looking orange these days.
Oh, well, wait till you
like our friend.
We'll get to him too. I seriously, I was very excited
Got a
about
million
this.
questions?
I'm doing a little bio off the top so we know who the hell
Okay.
we're talking to.
Right.
And then I'm going to get very specific
Yeah.
here.
So my family wasn't rich, and I wasn't rich. And at some point, I just said, okay, I'm going to start my own construction company. So believe it or not, if I thought about where I was back then, it's amazing that I'm here today. But I had a dream, and that's the fun about being an entrepreneur. You have a dream, you go for it.
And I respect the mess out of that, absolutely. And I love the fact that part of this dream is one day you'll get on Toronto Mic'd and we'll be having this conversation. And that's happening right now. Should I be recording this, Nick? You want me to record this?
That's always been the goal. You didn't know about this, but I've been watching you for years.
Private eyes are watching you. Nick Ainis, he's watching you. Okay. Not just Santa Claus.
You're freaking me out, man.
Listen, we play music on this show.
Yeah.
Again, specific questions. And one question, again, we're going to go a little rapid fire and there'll be tangents along the way. But
go ahead.
You literally just published a new book called Battle of the Skyscrapers.
Yes.
Okay. Please, I don't know why I don't know this, but CN Tower is not a skyscraper, obviously, right?
No.
What is the tallest skyscraper in Toronto, Ontario, Canada right now?
Okay, well, there's the one. The one is basically the super tall condo tower in Canada right now.
And so where is that one exactly?
That's at Yonge and Bloor.
Is it finished?
Both are at Yonge and Bloor. There's a one adjacent to it. It's called Pinnacle One, I believe it's called, and that's going to be taller than the one, and they're both in a battle to get completed, and that's kind of why we say Battle of the Skyscrapers, because it's a battle to the top. It's a show. What I learned is that essentially most of the skyscrapers started in New York City, Chicago, for very prominent and successful business people, wealthy individuals, and they built these skyscrapers as a competition, show of power and money and wealth, and then throughout the world, you just follow the trail. It's easy to spot where all the money is. And right now, the largest towers in the world are going in the Middle East.
So just follow the money,
follow the money.
Just like who's the it's Deep Throat. It's Deep Throat.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. Okay. Now I need to know how many. So you mentioned Yonge and Bloor, but
it's around. I think the tallest skyscraper and tower in Canada is going to be roughly 340 meters.
So is that the one at Yonge and Bloor is going to be 340?
Yes.
Okay. What's happening at 1 Yonge Street, the bottom of Yonge Street by the lake, where the Toronto Star building is? Is that also going to be a skyscraper?
Which project is that?
Where the Toronto Star building is now. You don't know about that?
I do know about it, but I just don't recall offhand.
Because it's all blueprints and stuff. Art Vandelay just got the
Art Vandelay is working on it.
Okay. I need some frame of reference. So, and again, I'm putting you on the spot here, but you are the expert. What's the tallest building in the world right now? Skyscraper in the world?
Yeah, it's the Burj Khalifa. That's the largest completed tower. There's one in Saudi Arabia that's going to be higher, and it's pretty amazing.
How high is that Burj Khalifa?
It's called Jeddah Towers.
Okay, how high is that Burj Khalifa?
Burj Khalifa?
Like how many meters?
Well, that's a good question.
But are we, because I guess I'm wondering, so we're finally going to have some skyscrapers here over 300 meters. And I guess that's the the bar, right? To be a skyscraper. No, you have the terminology. You wrote the book. But what's the term when you get over 300 meters? Super tall. Super tall
skyscraper.
Okay. So now we have some of these coming in, but I'm guessing that the Burj Khalifa would would make our skyscrapers here in Toronto look tiny.
Yeah, so I just looked it up because I don't have that in my head. So Burj Khalifa is 829 meters.
Wow, how tall is it?
So look at that. So you think about that. So we're at 300.
Yeah.
They're already at 829. So I just want to say something. So It was interesting because obviously I'm going to include a chapter about Canada, even though, when I was doing my research, there wasn't really much. No one was really talking about Canada. And I guess there's a reason for that. So I went back and I noticed that we barely have any super tall skyscrapers in Canada. And it basically has something to say about possibly the way we build. It could be about our economy or where we stand in the economy. So, and there's a lot of cities that all around the world that basically just don't build very high structures. I mean, Paris is a good example.
Right.
You know, everything is pretty much low rise over there.
Makes the Eiffel Tower look bigger.
Yeah, well, you know, that's what they do.
I've heard that. Okay.
That's how they look tough.
Well, on that note, I'm giving you
Macron looks tough.
I'm giving you a measuring tape from Ridley Funeral Home.
Oh, wow.
And they're at 14th and Lakeshore, so they're in New Toronto. And Brad Jones has a great podcast as well.
I think I met these guys at your...
Oh, Brad, yeah, Brad would have been at that TMLX event. So Brad, who's a sweetheart like you, he and also a sponsor of this program.
I'm not a sweetheart.
Well, I'll be the judge of that. Okay, don't mansplain to me what a sweetheart is. Okay, I've decided you're a sweetheart. I should tell the listenership. I've known you a while now. Like we've recorded many episodes of Building Toronto Skyline. You know, we've met at your office and we've had many conversations. So I'm telling the listenership they can trust me. Nick is a sweetheart. Okay,
Yeah, I'm a sweetheart.
but so is Brad Jones, and his podcast is called Life's Undertaking. So people should subscribe to Life's Undertaking when they're subscribing to Building Toronto's Skyline, and we'll talk more about that. But since I'm doing this, let me do it now. I do have fresh beer for you from Great Lakes Beer.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Delicious beer. We met at GLB Brew Pub that time, and I did actually meet you at the brewery. I remember now. I think the great VP of Sales came by to pick up some GLB.
So I got to hang out with Great Lakes too. I might have an event there one of these days.
Honestly, I'll hook you up. They're great for events, and we love Great Lakes beer here, brewed locally. Drink Ontario's beer, man. Don't go drinking the American beer.
Yeah, that's why you give these giveaways. Now I get it.
Well, yeah, we support local, and nothing's more local than Palma Pasta. They're in Mississauga.
Yeah, I'm always studying things, so obviously you got sponsors and you have to integrate them in the show.
You bake them in, man. I'm not going to stop. If I stop down and I air some canned ads for 3 minutes, you know what you're going to do? You're going to fast forward 3 minutes, okay?
I might go to something else.
You might turn the channel. You might be listening to Rogan.
Well, I'm learning things too, right?
You're learning. And Palma Pasta,
Where's Palma Pasta?
They're in Mississauga and Oakville.
Is there...
That it's in the freezer. I kept it in the freezer. I have it in my freezer right now. Actually, it was delivered this morning. I have a frozen lasagna for you, Nick. You're taking that home to the family.
Oh my God!
Your wife will love it.
Yeah, we'll eat it today.
Yeah, you'll love it.
She doesn't have to cook.
It's about
Honey,
time.
if you're listening
give
out
her
there,
a break.
you don't have to cook.
Nick's taking care of dinner tonight here. And I do want to tell everybody, including you, Nick, that the next TMLX event is June 26th from 6 to 9 p.m. I'm talking 2025 if you're listening in the future. And we are all going to collect, not at the GLB Brew Pub this time. That was at Jarvis and Queens Quay. We're going to collect at the brewery, which is 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard. It's where we met the first time, Nick. It is down the street from the Costco here in South Etobicoke. So everybody convene, collect, June 26th.
Be there.
Be there. Nick, will you be there?
I'm going to be there.
Because Palma Pasta is going to feed us.
Well, that's amazing.
So GLB will buy you your first beer, and then
Sounds
Palma
exciting.
Pasta will feed you. And everybody's going to have a great time.
Hell of a time.
Hell of a time. Okay. I want to understand.
But I want to promise from you.
What?
You gave us one beer. I think it was a half pint.
That was GLB Brew Pub, which is the half pint, because it's more expensive rent over there. At the brewery, you get a full beer.
We got a full beer.
Yeah.
I got your promise.
It's different story.
I'm gonna get everybody to oust you and chase you out of your own event.
I love this free event where I'm giving you free food and I'm giving you free beer. You're complaining how much free beer you're getting. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's got to be a pint.
Well, the brewery and the brew pub are different in what they pay for the rent, right? So
Okay.
GLB owns the brewery and therefore can charge less for the beer. But at Jarvis and Queens Quay, where they pay rent, it's a very, very high rent. So essentially, we get a free half pint at the GLB brew pub, but we get the free pint.
Yeah, blame the
brewery.
Yeah, blame them.
You understand
Blame them.
Property values, and we're going to talk about
Well,
that.
we're going to be there. I'm going to be there for sure. It sounds like an exciting event.
You're going to bring your wife.
I'll bring my wife.
How long you been married?
5 years now.
All right, congrats to you. You in love? Let me look at you. Yeah. Valentine's Day is coming up. You going to do anything special?
Yeah, I always do.
You're going to give her some GLB. And you're going to give her a measuring tape.
I was thinking
Here, sweetie.
TLC. Okay.
Oh, you should do that every day.
Well, I do.
I noticed my wife said, "Hey, let's celebrate Valentine's Day early. There's this Winterlicious going on, and you get there's a nice restaurant in Long Branch actually, and we've got a hot Valentine's Day date on Feb 12.
Nice.
Get in ahead of
Why
it all.
Feb 12?
Something to
February
do with the
14th
Winterlicious.
is Friday.
It's got to do with the Winterlicious.
You get like 50% off. Is that the idea?
There's a deal. You know Winterlicious,
Well,
Summerlicious.
I'm always loving to my wife every day.
She's a
you
lucky
asked me
woman.
if I was in love, yes, I'm completely in love. Didn't think it would happen to me, but it did.
So, because 5 years married, did you date a long time before you got married?
No, 3 months.
Wow. Okay. So I'm now looking at you. You're what? You're like 35 now?
35. Yeah. Funny guy. 51.
Okay.
51.
You know, I'm turning 51 in June.
But I look better. You look like you're 51.
But I have better hair.
Well, if you want to, it's gray.
I know you're into martial arts, so I got to be careful here.
Yeah,
Do you want to
arts.
tell the people, because I don't know what these words mean, but tell the people what your specialty is in the world of martial arts.
Okay, so martial arts, I study what's called Kali. It's a Filipino martial arts, and it's based on stick and knife fighting. But we also do a sort of mixed martial arts where we're doing boxing, kickboxing. It's called United Martial Arts, and you got to bring Anil here one day so we can talk fighting.
Done. So listen, if you stay on as a sponsor, and I hope you're on long term.
I'm bringing Anil because you know
and Anil
what?
will
This
come in.
is interesting. I'll tell you a good story. So he worked for someone for years. The other guy, the other sensei, whatever you want to call him, he went to Calgary, set up his own deal in Calgary, and essentially Anil bought the Ontario branch. So he's now, as of like a couple of days ago, the owner of United Martial Arts.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's big news. So I will do this episode. That's my pledge to you.
Yeah, so I do private martial arts lessons, and I love it. It's a good way to unwind, good way to, just forget about the challenges of the day, the stresses of the day, and it's really great.
Well, we're going to get to those stresses. I'm going to take a note not to mess with you because you could beat me up. And I think it's cool. This Filipino martial arts, I'm going to tell my wife this. She'll be impressed. She is of Filipino descent.
Nice.
She'll be very impressed by this. But I have numbers. So I was curious about this, and I know you looked up some numbers on Burj Khalifa, and you told me 828 or whatever.
Yeah.
The CN Tower, this is a fun fact for all my Toronto listeners. It's only 553 meters. I guess I thought it was taller than that. That's only a little more than half a kilometer. But, when you're looking up, it's like a different perspective. It just seems taller. So
Yeah, 553.
So that's interesting to me that
it was one of the tallest towers. So it's always this thing where, you built this skyscraper, it's the tallest building, and then it gets overtaken very quickly. So, and that's happening all over the world right now.
And again, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but will any skyscraper in the city of Toronto ever be taller than the CN Tower?
Well, I mean, it's
in your
based on,
guess, just guess.
I would say no. I think you're looking at over the 300 meter mark. There could be a couple of very high towers, but there probably might be something where you can't be higher than the CN Tower.
I kind of like that rule. Maybe for like broadcast purposes, like the antennas and everything. What is it called? The signals and stuff. I remember when CFNY. So you grew up in Toronto. What was your radio station of choice when you were in high school in Richfield?
Well, I think it was Q107.
Q107. Did you have a favorite jock or DJ on Q, or you just jug the jams?
I just like the music.
Did you like Guns N' Roses?
Yes, I did. I was a big Guns N' Roses fan.
Me too. Appetite for Destruction
It was
blew my
like
mind.
the best. Yeah, it was one of the best albums of all time, in my opinion. And definitely, it came out when I was 14 years old. And that was like the high school album, Appetite for Destruction. And then Lies came out eventually.
Yeah, and then had Patience on it.
And then they had their Use Your Illusion albums.
I bought Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 on opening day.
Yeah, I got it before opening day.
How'd you make that happen?
Well, at
You're Nick
Richview we have connections.
Okay,
you know.
geez.
It's
But because
Richview.
we're the same vintage, I have the same story about all of this. I can just tell you, I was listening to a lot of Q107 when Appetite for Destruction dropped, and they played it like crazy because the top 10 at 10, remember Shirley MacLaine?
Everybody was crazy about it.
Paradise City, Sweet Child O' Mine, of course, Welcome to the Jungle, and more. The whole album.
The whole album is fantastic, front and back.
Man, I got to show you, before you leave, I'll show you my Appetite for Destruction pennant I bought at a head shop downtown in 1988.
Wow.
So, freaking love it.
Did you ever go see them live?
Yeah, I did. I finally, have you seen them live?
Yeah, I did once.
Okay.
Use Your Illusion tour.
Okay, so I was...
We were probably there.
No, because I caught them much later. I caught them much later. But I did... Slash was with the band when I saw them, but it was I was like in my 40s when I saw them. So
Yeah, that's sad.
I missed them in their heyday, but
No, it was
big fan.
great. It was great. It was a great concert. I remember it.
Well, this is a great convo so far, because now I want to ask you, again, I'm going to bounce around a bit, and I'm going to definitely dive in a bit further with your podcast and your books, etc.
Yeah, and I'm going to add some stuff too. So
Okay, well, I'm going to make sure...
that.
That's good. We started early, so we can go a little longer. Now, I'm curious about the current state
Wow.
of the condo market in this country. And before you answer, because I'm going to lean back, drink my coffee, and listen, I just want you to know, no, I listened to the most recent episode of Building Toronto Skyline with Rod Robotham.
Yeah, Rod.
He's from One Space Unlimited Inc. And he was down here talking to you, and I'm here producing, and I'm listening. And he said something that I mean, this ties in, because it's going to tie in. I want to talk about the American threat and the tariffs that sort of Damocles that Donald J. Trump is holding over us with that. And he talked about the state, very eloquently talked about the current state of condo development, where even a dummy like me could understand. But then he also referenced what he called he called it the third strike. He said, we had the pandemic, right? Then we had inflation. And we had to manage these two things back to back, bang, bang. And now the American threat and the tariffs. And he called it strike three. And it was really...
Strike three, you're out?
It was real talk when it comes to where we're at in this economy. Okay. So I'm now say that as like a context and preface before we hear from you, the expert. What's the current state of the condo market in this country, and maybe more specifically in the city?
The condo market is essentially dead right now, almost dead.
On life support.
It's not good. So I think if you're buying something in Toronto, I'll tell you the situation is sort of geographically different. There's some variations here and there. So you're going to see probably there's still condo sales happening for sure. But the condo market, everything is on hold or they're shifting to rental. A lot of the developers out there because they have staff and they have to keep their projects going. So they made they adapted to the rental market. But the condo market is basically essentially in a big trouble right now. So we have prices have come down about 10% in the GTA on average. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of inventory units out there in the marketplace, so we're competing with retail. It's a great time to buy a resale condo. You can probably get a pretty good steal from there. And essentially not too many people are building condos there these days. The interest rates are coming down, which is good news. But it's how Canadians feel is the main thing, right? So if you're looking at people who want to buy a house or a condo right now, they're going to say, I'm on hold right now. One, I got to wait till interest rates come down. We got to wait till the market starts picking up again. So I think in terms of all those issues that we're having, plus the cost of a house these days is really, really high for most Canadians. They can't afford it. So if you have a house, you're lucky. I consider myself lucky. Me and my wife, we have a house, and and it's not a perfect house, but we love it. And
on that note, I feel incredibly lucky. I feel blessed that we got in the market before it was getting nuts, to be honest, but it got nuttier. I feel like I couldn't afford to get into the housing market today.
Yeah, it's a challenge for a lot of Canadians. So, there's a lot of mixed feelings about the marketplace right now, and to put that into perspective, now we have this lingering threat with Donald Trump down south, and the tariffs, and that just adds more uncertainty to the market.
And that was a great point that Rod was talking about. When I was in software, I was working for B2B software companies forever. Sorry, you're in the mid-sentence there?
Well, I just wanted to say...
Although I was actually mid-sentence.
Yeah,
we'll
you were.
The tape,
I'm going to interrupt because it's a very important point.
Okay.
So a lot of the economics or the feasibility of building condos these days, it's much more challenging. You can't sell it they don't work. The numbers don't work as much as they used to. Development charges are too high. There's a big sort of, and we had Richard Lyle here. Remember Richard Lyle?
Of course.
Yeah, from Rescon. So there's a big proponent out there. He's a big proponent for reducing development charges from municipalities. That's going to bring the cost of the housing down, because you can't drop the labor too much. You're not going to be able to drop labor costs because they just keep going up with inflation, right?
Right.
And the cost of goods and services supplied to the industry, that's not going to change too much. We had all these issues with inflation. So how is it possible that the cost of construction is going to come down? And the value of units that may be able to make it more affordable is only on the municipal side and development charges. If they come down, it'll make the numbers work better for developers. Everybody thinks developers, make so much money. They're greedy, and they all have these bad images or portrayals, and it's not true. Always when we look at a condo, we look at a pro forma for a condo, the numbers are somewhat tight sometimes, and that's what we're seeing there. So right now, it's there's some opportunities to change, to make it more economical for people to buy in Canada. However, Canadians have to feel comfortable about buying that house, and the investor market is gone right now.
And was that investor market propping things up, driving up?
Yeah, well, that was really fueling the condo market over the last 2 decades.
Okay, wow. Now, where I was going, just I think I was mid-sentence. Yeah. So in the software company, you have competitors, and it was the job of marketing to supply the salespeople with FUD. FUD was fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So, you're looking at them. Well, and then I heard they're going to be selling to Microsoft or whatever. Throw some FUD at the competitors and everything. And that same fear, uncertainty, and doubt is what has many Torontonians and Canadians, but particularly Torontonians, if they have money for the home, they're going to keep it in the bank account, or keep it under their pillow, or maybe under their mattress. I don't know if you keep money under your mattress, but just hold on to it to see what's happening. See what's going on. Okay, well, I don't have your address yet, so I can't go break in and check what's under that mattress there, but I'm sure there's some cash there. Maybe it's in like Tony Soprano. He had it hidden all over the place, right?
Yeah, well, I don't do that.
And Carmela found out.
Carmela took it.
Where it was. Yeah. Could go
for
Carmela.
Her spec house.
Palmapasta, the family, the Petrucci family, owns it and operates it. I was talking to Anthony yesterday. So Anthony is Tony, right? Tony. So he's Tony. His wife's name is Carmela. It's Tony and Carm.
Oh my God!
Isn't that perfect?
Can't wait to meet them.
Well, you'll meet them at.
Hey, Tony, how you doing, Tony? What do you say?
He'd love it if you did that. But we were having a good chat about it. So I'm curious. What can we do? For example, is there a different government that we should have in place that would do something differently?
I mean, that's a good, very good point. Well, first of all, there's that uncertainty in the marketplace is caused by fear, and right now people are afraid to buy anything right now.
Right, fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
That's right. So the only thing that can change that is the economy has to change. Now you have this problem with Donald Trump in south of the border. So
can we talk about that guy?
We're going to get to it, but just the best thing that can happen in Canada, first of all, we need good political leadership with vision. That's what we need.
You're talking federally.
I'm talking all levels of government. We have, I'm sorry to say, I'm going to give you my opinion.
Yeah, well, you're speaking for Nick, not for the FCMs. Yeah.
Our governments are a joke, okay? I just said it very strongly. They're a joke, and they're socialists.
Whoa.
They're not entrepreneurs. They're not business people. They waste taxpayers' money like you wouldn't believe. And I don't agree with that. That's very, very, very
And
bad.
are you being specific to federal or provincial or both?
Well, I don't like. There's some things in the Canadian, democratic process that I don't like. One, we don't get to pick our leaders. The parties pick the leaders.
The parliamentary system, right?
Well, it's not the parliamentary
Well, that's
system.
the parliamentary system.
I'm not saying that I prefer the American system, but they get to elect their leaders, and it's a longer. The election period is a longer election period, so you really get to participate in the vote. You can pick people. The only difference in the United States is money usually gets you that victory. However, there's always a dark horse that can win in politics, but in Canada, I don't see it. I don't see people able to. There was an Indian fellow who wanted to join or jump into leadership, liberal leadership race. They told him no. They wrote him a letter and said no. Did you know about that?
No, you got any more detail on that one?
I don't recall the guy's name.
All right, but
we need better leadership. We have no offense to people's names, but Trudeau was not a good leader.
Well, yeah, you're speaking for Nick, so you can say anything you want.
Trudeau wasn't a good leader. Olivia Chow, I'm not a big fan of her either.
What do you think of Doug Ford?
Well, I think he's got his positive points. Yeah, for sure. I would say he's a lot more pragmatic as a politician. I think he's pretty good.
What do you think of Donald J. Trump as president of the United States of America?
Wow, that's a very loaded question.
This is the home of real talk, Nick. I can't throw you softballs because you're a paying sponsor. We got to talk here. What do you think of Donald Trump? Maybe I'll help you out by saying Doug Ford was caught on a hot mic just as last week.
Saying he was for Trump.
Saying he was happy when Ford beat Kamala Harris. I'm sorry, that's a Freudian slip. He was happy when Trump won the election here in 2024. He was happy. Now he's not happy because he's talking 51st state and putting 25% tariffs, but he was happy on election night. He was as happy as Wayne Gretzky was.
He's a conservative, and I'm a conservative. It's hard to root for someone on the left because you don't agree with their policy, right? You're for business. You're for more of like a free society, laissez-faire sort of economic system. Leave it alone, without government intervention, without government regulation. So, in many respects and regards, and you know what? It's very unpopular to say if you like someone these days. You get canceled.
Well, we won't cancel you, Nick, but I will say that if you were looking at wasteful spending, I would say add these up. Just add up Ontario Science Centre, add up Ontario Place, add up ripping up bike lanes, add up I can't remember the highway, the 416 or whatever. What's that highway that's
Is that you blaming Doug Ford for that?
I'm saying if you're look at what he spent to get the beer in the convenience stores 1 year earlier, right?
I don't necessarily agree with most of his
wasteful
policies.
Spending.
Yeah,
wasteful spending.
I'm not sure if I agree with every policy that he does, but I think he's definitely pro-business. He's pro-development. He's got he's trying new things, which is experimental, and I think some of these things work, some of them don't, but at least he's trying. I think he has something to offer.
Back to Donald Trump for a moment here. So what were your feelings about Donald Trump on November 6th? Was that the date? November 5th. What was election day? 5th?
Yeah.
Okay. November 5th, 2024, when he won. What were you feeling about him then? What do you feel about him now? Are you concerned as a developer? Are you concerned about these tariff
threats? I have to tell the truth. Is that right?
Well, I don't want you to lie to my listenership.
Is it going to affect my...
I'm going to cancel your check if you tell me bullshit. We're here to have a real chat.
Okay. Well, if you're an aspiring construction guy and you're into real estate development, you were looking... I was into everybody's biography. I used to... You ever watch that show, A&E Biography?
Of course I did. Absolutely.
It was an amazing show. You watch Larry King at night, and all these great guests came on the tube, and I was I bought The Art of the Deal when I was in university, maybe in high school, probably university, and I've always been sort of a fan of Donald Trump. I studied his career in real estate and Trump Towers and there's probably a lot of people like myself who wanted to get into the development community because of something like that. So in addition to that, everybody watched The Apprentice. That was a very popular show at the time. They loved it. And then he decided to get into politics. So I found Donald Trump when I saw this. For me, I think he's funny. I think he's a little bit crazy. Obviously, he's a little bit crazy. But for me, it was always entertaining. And my uncle was conservative, and I had a great relationship with my uncle, and he passed away since.
I'm sorry.
And we love to watch it. It's like we love the chaos. Like some people like that. I like it.
Yeah,
the
Joker like that in Batman, right? Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Well, I don't. I wouldn't call it that, but I just found him very entertaining to watch. So I guess I'm for disruption. I'm for change. I'm not for status quo. I'm not for safety. I'm a business person. I like risk. I like the underdog. Okay, because if I don't root for the underdog, I'm not rooting for myself. So, I truly believe that there's a lot of probably major corruption all over the world, in all levels of government. So he blew the system up. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed it in 2016, mm-hmm. and I've been a fan of Donald Trump. Now, at the end of the day, and probably hopefully no one's listening to this right now, but at the end of the day, obviously I don't like it when he hit Canada. So I'm prepared to fight anybody who comes after Canada because that's hitting my home.
Well, I'm relieved to hear this.
So I'm definitely standing up for Canada. Now, mm-hmm. This you got to get a general context here. What's he want? He wants something. So this guy, he only operates when he wants something. So he says something like, for example, like thing with Gaza, U.S. is going to take over it. So it throws everybody in a frenzy. Mm-hmm. Everybody goes nuts. Everybody's talking about it. People all over the world saying, how dare you, blah, 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 blah. But he's throwing something out there, and it's a distraction, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So he's probably got some other purpose, some other strategy for the Middle East, for Gaza or for Palestinians. And let's see what it is.
Do you think maybe these outlandish things he says and does is simply a tactic to distract from the fact that he and his billionaire assistant manager, Elon Musk, that they're dismantling the infrastructure, the government, piece by piece, and they're only less than a month into this term. Like, simply, you can't focus on that.
So you don't like Elon Musk because he's associated with Trump. Now Elon Musk is a devil. Everybody loved Elon Musk.
No, I don't like Elon Musk primarily because he's a Nazi.
You see, these are the extreme positions.
Well, I watched him give the salute twice.
Okay, I don't think he's a Nazi. I don't think so. I don't believe he is.
All right, so you're in favor of all things Trump until he started threatening Canada.
I'm not in favor of all things Trump. If he's right on something, I'll say I agree with it. If he's wrong on something, I'd say something else. However, in this case with the tariffs,
let's talk about that.
Obviously, I'm going to get upset. So I was, I said, turn the lights off. Stop the energy from coming over to Canada. I said we got to fight them. Obviously, I'm going to be pro Canada. But again, back to what my original thought was, that these are negotiation tactics. Look what happened. Like nothing happened, right?
But nothing happened. But we bought a month reprieve, and then we'll find out. We all have to be pins and needles to see if it happens.
That's what he does. He says he's going to do something, and then everybody squirms. It's like
because he can do it with the stroke of a pen. You can't ignore him.
Like, you know what? It's an a-hole thing to do.
Yeah. You can swear on the show.
It's an asshole thing to do. And he's being an asshole. So
Right.
he's negotiating like an asshole. Okay?
Yeah.
And there's lots of people like that. I don't like it. If something does that to me, it's like, you say mother, is that allowed to be?
You can say it. That word,
I'd say holy, like this guy's being an asshole. These motherfuckers are doing a nasty thing to me. So that's the way you feel when people negotiate like that. I don't do it like that. I don't agree with negotiating like that. I don't think necessarily it's the right approach. But that country, and you're back to your whole sentiment about whether they're dismantling the U.S. government. Mm-hmm. The U.S. government is in major debt, and someone's got to do something about it. So maybe there is drastic measures that need to be taken. Now let's see what happens. All I can say is let's see what happens. Last 4 years, if it's his true colors are going to come out, and
if you mean they haven't come out yet?
Well, it depends on your point of view. Like, I mean, he did something in women's sports, for example, not allowing trans men or trans athletes to compete with women. I mean, why is that bad? Women deserve to compete with women. It's an unfair advantage in sports. So he put an end to that. Is that a bad thing? I don't think it is.
Yeah, there's a lot more collateral damage with that one, though. But okay, let's stick to. So
you can't say everything he does is bad. Like, you have to watch what he's doing. Like, and let's see the actions he takes. Like, okay, so there's the statements, there's this, there's that, and a lot of that stuff a lot of people don't like. I find it funny. Okay,
but
I'm entertained.
You're in the condo. Okay, so as long as we entertain Nick, it's all good, my friend.
Yeah.
Now you're in the condo development industry, and we just did a whole talk about the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that has tanked this condo market right now in Toronto. And
it adds uncertainty to the market. It's not good for the market. It's not good. It's not good.
The threats of the tariff, huge uncertainty.
Well, one thing I'm going to say is when things happen, you have to. There's always a chance to, self-reflection. So, what did we learn about Canada when this happened? You always have to take something negative and say, okay, what are we learning here? One, we're too reliant with our trading partner in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a good thing. You need to be. Every business has to be sort of diversified. Mm-hmm. So, maybe we should look for oil markets. There was this pipeline idea that came east-west, and maybe we should be shipping oil other places in the world. If you're into that, maybe you're an environmentalist and you don't agree with that. But it showed that we are very dependent on the U.S., and that's not good for Canada. We need to stand on our own feet. And in addition to that, I also said that our military were very dependent on the U.S. for national defense. And I actually looked it up. I said, I'm curious. How many people are in North Korea, there's, 10 million or something like that? 2 million soldiers? I can't remember what it is. But they're one of the largest armies in the world. So is China. So is everybody else. So at the end of the day, so I looked it up. And do you know what the number is?
No.
65,000 soldiers in the military in all of Canada. So what do you think of that?
I think historically we've been far too reliant on our big buddies to the south to protect us, and we've always thought that if anyone ever encroached on our space, the Americans would have our back and we'd be fine. And I think until now, we took it for granted. We took for granted that we were allies and best friends, and they would always have our back. Like we would, we just took it for granted.
That is first of all, we're a country, they're a country. There is no way we're your best friends. Why are we best friends with the United States? We're allies.
We have common values,
so we're definitely
common
allies.
Goals, common language. We're absolutely allies. You don't treat your allies like this.
No, you don't. I agree with that.
Okay, that's why
I said he was that's a negotiation tactic.
So what does he want?
And I also said,
mm-hmm.
it's an asshole thing to do.
Right.
Because I've been in that position as a business.
Right.
Where someone does something on a contract, or they're fighting you, or they want to, bury you with something. And that's like a terrible way to do something.
And we have a contract that he essentially is ignoring with the tariffs in the first place. Because we do have, I don't remember his new name for NAFTA, but we have a contract.
Yeah. So he wants something. I don't know exactly what he wants. There's all sorts of theories and ideas of what's, where this is going to head. And all I can say is that, we're doing the right thing, in my opinion. I think Trudeau, if I'm going to say anything about Trudeau, a positive thing is that the speech was good.
Yeah.
And also that, he's trying to negotiate. So if it's security that they're concerned with, then I think it's a good move to, try to, there's no harm in proving something to protect Canadians and the United States. So if we want to limit people from illegally coming into Canada and going to the United States and vice versa, if we're going to fight fentanyl together, then it's not a bad thing, because people are dying from fentanyl all over. No, let me say
this. Fentanyl is the worst. I've had guests on this program who have broke down crying talking about their children who have died because of accidental fentanyl overdose. I mean, and not crying, but Ken Daniels, for example. And I mean, there's more than that, actually. And it's terrible. But I don't believe for a second that there is a crisis with. I think the study showed 0.2% of fentanyl.
It wasn't much. So if you compared it to Mexico, I think they were over 2 million illegal immigrants coming from the south, and we were like 200,000. And in terms of fentanyl, I don't remember what was down south, but it was only 40, 50 pounds of fentanyl from Canada. So it's unfair, definitely. It's probably not right what was done. It's definitely the way he did it was wrong too. So, there's a lot of wrongs that I would definitely say that I'm not happy about either. But, you still got to, unfortunately, when you're dealing with assholes, you still got to deal with them.
Well, listen, you're not an asshole. Happy to deal with you. And I want to talk about your podcast for a moment here, because the current
you
existing...
just ruined my career, by the way.
Well, you did it. I will say this, Nick. I appreciate that you could have come on and you could have said, Toronto Mike's audience is a more progressive audience, and hearing from a sponsor who, isn't disgusted and grossed out by Donald Trump, maybe that's not like the wisest move. But you came on and you were the genuine article. Like, I absolutely respect that. We're just having a conversation. I have Bruce Dobigan coming back in the basement later this month. He's going to drop by. And Bruce is another guy who feels like you feel about Trump. And I'm going to find out how Bruce feels about Trump with these current threats. I got to say, when I hear him talk about making Canada the 51st state, I've never wanted someone else to die more in my life. Like I don't want this guy breathing the same oxygen on the same planet as me with this rhetoric about 51st state, because he's the commander-in-chief of the biggest army in the world. That's not funny.
Yeah, and he doesn't mean it.
Well, please tell me what he thinks. I love it when people tell me what Donald Trump is thinking.
So, again, he throws this thing out there. Everybody freaks out. Probably he's not very respectful to Trudeau, of course, but calling him Governor Trudeau, but it's not real. It's not real. He wants something else. There's a negotiation out there. Maybe it's good for all of our countries, but we don't know.
But do you see where we're at? In 2025, the commander-in-chief of the world's largest armed forces is somebody that we are supposed to not believe. Like, don't believe what he says. He's full of shit. Like, this is where we're at. But I will just say this. It's easy to ignore.
Yeah, but you know what? People, so you're going to believe Biden, but he's lying all the time.
Well, I can't even compare Biden to Trump.
But he was, first of all, they were lying to us all the time that he was okay. He was sharp as a tack. That was like propaganda.
You do realize though that
it was a joke.
These are not equals.
I know, but it's. But you know what? Wouldn't you rather have someone who's, everybody was.
You mean like Kamala Harris? Like
everyone
Biden
looked genuine, but they were lying. They lied to us all the time.
Just a reminder that
remember,
Biden
like
didn't
the
run.
people are the innocent victims in all of this.
I know. I feel like a victim right now because what I'd love to spin it to is the podcast because
Okay, let's go.
you are the condo expert and you are the CEO and founder of Fusion Corp Developments Inc. And your podcast, which people can subscribe to right now, is called Building Toronto's Skyline. And we talked about Rod Robotham. I hope I'm saying his name properly.
Rod Robotham.
Right. And I've been really, really educated and impressed by the quality of your guests in these conversations. But I do want to shout out one guest, a recent guest. I want to shout out Stephen Velasco because
that was interesting.
He does 3D visualizations of what, the GTA will look like in like 6-7 years when all the developments are done. And you can go to his 3D visualizations at Stephen, which is PH in Stephen, by the way, Velasco.com. And you could, I spent hours just going through the city. Oh, this is what it's going to look like at Cloverdale Mall. Here's what it's going to look like at Park Lawn and Lakeshore. Here's what it's going to look like at, Yonge and Queens Quay. And I've been doing these pockets of curiosity, and it's amazing. I just want to say what a great conversation, what a great guest. And we got to see these 3D visualizations.
It was awesome, yeah. So I love, it's a great, I like talking with people, as you can tell, and we have some really good guests, and they talk about their expertise, what they do. We had guests who were trade people like Mario Riviero from Triumph. We had a property management company come on board. I think it was Melbourne, right?
That's right.
Yep. And
He was
we've had like a lot of great guests, and yeah, we're going to continue to have amazing guests, and you got to book a few people too.
Well, we got to talk about that. So every 2 weeks we drop a new episode.
We got to talk about that.
We drop a new episode of Building Toronto Skyline every 2 weeks. But I did hear a rumor, and I want to know if this is true. Is there a second podcast that's going to launch soon?
Yeah, so let me tell you about a few things. So
okay, you know what? You take us home.
So
the floor is yours. You pay for your time.
I like to be, even though maybe I'm not poor, but I'm not rich, and I wouldn't say rich is a relative, I guess. Probably you might look at me and say, well, maybe he's wealthy.
Well, your watch is worth the price of this home.
Well, we're not going to talk about that. Okay. So so I love being entrepreneur. And I like helping people, and I love new ideas. And when I get a new idea, I always like to try to do something about that. So I usually take action. Entrepreneur. I guess I wrote when I was young. I read a book about entrepreneurism, and they define it as like action almost. It's like being a catalyst and taking action. That's what you got to do when you want to be an entrepreneur. You got to take action. Just put it on your to-do list and do it. And I learned that through martial arts. You don't take giant leaps and one quickly gets tired. If you take small steps, the small steps are the ones that get you to your goals. So, I told you about my trip to Miami. I went to Miami. It was a great place, really amazing place. And, that's something that I'd like to pursue, is maybe do some work in the U.S. We're looking into that. Not even though it's unpopular.
Well, I was going to say this is the climate where everybody's trying to do less work in the U.S. and you're going to do more work in the U.S.
Well, yeah.
Okay, because when people are zigging, you're like me. When people are zigging, you zag.
Yeah, I follow where. Listen, at the end of the day, I can't do anything about Donald Trump or his tariffs. There's people in government; they have to solve those problems, and I have to. I'm going to do my part, whatever I can do as a Canadian. But at the end of the day, you have to look at your business and the economy is not great here in Canada right now. That's not the reason why I wanted to go to the U.S. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to go somewhere hot, and maybe do a little bit of business. And Miami was a great place. South Florida is really nice.
So are you going to be a snowbird? What's going to happen
There's a lot of Canadians out there too. Well, I'm not going to get totally into it, but I might write a book called Building Miami Skyline. It's a great way to get introduced to the Miami community. And so that's one thing I had for Fusion Corp. We'd go down and do so. There's like all these amazing condo towers all over Miami skyline. And I said to myself, look, it would be cool to go in and fix some of these older condos, because we do that at Fusion Corp. Not only do we do new construction, but we do condominium refurbishment. So we go into the older condos. They have outdated lobbies and common spaces. And so there's tons of towers in Toronto as well as in Miami that require that. So I'm interested in doing that. That's a possibility that I might do. And and the thing that, and I have obviously the Royal Rose project in Owen Sound, which is
tell us
amazing.
about that. I've heard about it, but the listenership, and this is amazing.
Yeah, and so I've got a bunch of things that I'd like to do. I don't know if they're all going to work out, but in terms of Royal Rose, I bought an old courthouse and jail, and I'm converting it to an amazing event venue, restaurant, dining facilities. It's going to be a private social club, business club, a cocktail bar, a speakeasy, a shared workspace, and business incubator. So I want to touch on so that project is going to be amazing. I've got mostly all the approvals in place. I'm looking for financing to get started.
And we had the architect here.
Yeah, that was Eric Rodriguez from Boldera Architects. And that's going to be very exciting. And I'm going to start demolition soon in some of the areas, selective demolition. And the interesting part, though, is there's a shared workspace, and I'm going to have a business incubator. And I'm going to try to help people from Owen Sound, but from elsewhere as well. And I guess that's where I'm getting into. And I think you wanted to segue into this.
Well,
this one.
Are you going to launch a new podcast? It's only because I heard you tease it on Humble and Fred.
I'm interested, and we're going to try a couple episodes, but it's Building Success series. It's the Building Success podcast, and I want to talk about investing, real estate investing, and people who want to start a business or need help growing their business, because we all need help. And even myself, I am looking to continuously improve my business, and how do we do that? So we know what our problems are. It's just how do we get to that next phase? So it's always, and you know what, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to help people, and I would like to help people too. I think I can. And because I'm very goal-oriented, and when I want something, I just do it. I don't hesitate. I'll take one step, even if it's that step takes 5, maybe that thing's not going to hit the ground for 5 years. But you have to plant the seeds today to reap the rewards later on. And not everybody can be an entrepreneur, and not everyone can be a successful real estate investor or anything like that. But, people, there's a lot of people that want to learn and try to, and they may have a great idea, but they're scared to get out there. And so that would be the point of our podcast, is to talk to people in the industry, talk to other entrepreneurs, talk to successful real estate developers, real estate investors, and we're maybe we're going to offer some courses, some events in addition to that, but one step at a time. So I'm calling it Building Success and the Art of Real Estate Investing, and start a business, grow a business. That's what it's going to be all about.
All right, Nick, now my turn. I want to address the FOTMs listening. Okay, so, because I've been, we had a great chat over an hour right now. We got to know you. We got to learn more about your entrepreneurial spirit, what you're up to at Fusion Corp. And we talked about the state of the condo industry. We talked about the skyscrapers. Can't believe our tallest skyscraper is like 300 and change. Like, I think that's interesting, because we think of Toronto as like a major city in the world, but maybe.
Well, don't be. It's not terrible. 300 meters is a good height, and
you're telling me size doesn't matter.
Well,
that's why you got the measuring.
You know
tape.
what? Size does matter. However, the thing is, back to ambitious plans.
Okay.
In Saudi Arabia, they're doing the most amazing projects. They envision it and they do it, and they have a completely different government than we do. But we need the vision. That's what it's all about.
We need the vision. But I want to address the FOTS because we heard you were very honest about a number of things. One thing, I think some people will be rubbed the wrong way when they hear that you were, happy when Trump beat Harris back in November. Like, I think that will, like, I'm being very honest with you. I think some people will be like, ooh, like, I don't like
this guy.
Yeah, because this is a Toronto show, and, Toronto's a little different than maybe, I don't know if this was like an Alberta show or something like that. It's a little different. Okay. So I want to make sure everybody realizes that you and I, Nick, and again, some people accuse me of being a bleeding heart lefty because I bike everywhere. Okay. We politicize biking in this city. What's up with that? If you're going to politicize something, don't politicize cycling. I think conservatives should bike too. Okay. And I know Brad Bradford loves to bike, so maybe some conservatives do bike. But here, Nick, I'm addressing before I play out here, because I love this chat. And I love that you're the real deal. You're the authentic article. Like, you came in and you told me the truth, and I knew this, but I wasn't sure what you'd reveal on the public record. And you came clean about everything. You were pleased to see Trump win the 2024 election. And
you keep repeating.
Well, and then now you're a proud Canadian and you don't want Canada's sovereignty threatened in any manner. Like, I'm hearing you, and I'm hearing what I want to hear, which is, no, this is a bridge too far. You're pro-Canada and against Trump when it comes to...
Well, we have to fight for Canadians at the end of the day.
And I'm going to be fighting alongside you because you got
I live here. This is my home. I've lived here all my life. No one's going to mess with our economy. We don't need that right now.
Love what I'm hearing there. So I just want to make sure listenership knows that I put out a episode, I think it was New Year's Eve, but basically a recap, over 1 million downloads. This is going on. And I said, hey, I'm looking to work with another partner in the first quarter of 2025 and beyond. And I just put out this plea. And then next thing you know, we're having a meeting and we're putting together a deal. You are a master negotiator. I can vouch for that. And here you are now as a supporter of what's going on this very podcast. You are fueling the real talk. And I'm just here to say thank you to you. And I'm glad we can have these reasonable conversations. I have similar conversations. Anthony Petrucci votes conservative, and we have long conversations about everything. And I get flack sometimes when I have over somebody who supports Pierre Poilievre, or they support Doug Ford, or maybe they even support Trump. And I'm here to have conversations. I know what I believe, but I don't know everything. And I'm open-minded like you were about bike lanes at TMLX 16. I love the conversations. I support you. I love your entrepreneurial spirit. I may not agree with you on anything, but man, am I grateful on everything. Did I say anything? I may not agree with you on everything, but I am just so pleased you stepped up with your wallet. You're keeping this going. And you, as far as I'm concerned, are a valued member of the TMU. And now you're an FOTM, Nick Ainis. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to get our photo by the tree.
All right.
In this photo, we'll follow you to the grave. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home.
Are you kidding me? What a terrible thing to...
Well, what I mean by that is for the rest of your life, when they Google Google you, they're going to see us by the tree.
That's amazing.
That's what I mean by that. Look,
love it.
We're the same age. You got another 50 years to go, buddy.
Great.
And keep it up with the martial arts. We will do that episode. And maybe...
Yeah, we got to bring in Il here, and he's going to talk a lot about martial arts. And
less Trump talk in that episode, right? Well, we'll see what happens.
What's Humble and Fred going to say?
I'm trying to keep them in the dark. I'm trying to protect you, because if Humble and Fred find out you were happy that Trump won that election, they aren't as open-minded as I am. I'll still talk to you. They might not.
They might kick me off the show.
They might do worse than that. You don't want to get Fred angry. I've seen him angry. I've seen him here angry.
You know what? All I can say is that we love those guys, and they probably know a little bit anyways.
They're catching on. Okay. And that brings us to the end of our 1,627th show. Go to torontomike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. I'm active on Blue Sky at torontomike.com, but I'm elsewhere. You'll find me if you're looking for me. What's the best website? I know 60onbroadway.com if you're interested in this wonderful Orangeville development that Fusion Corp has. But is there a Fusion Corp website we should send people to?
Yeah, of course. www.fusioncorp.ca. And you can always check out nickainis.com. Nick, AINIS.com. And there's Building Toronto Skyline. You can get that on Amazon. You can get Battle of the Skyscrapers on Amazon. I launched a little YouTube video about the Burj Khalifa. You can check that on Battle of Skyscrapers and YouTube. There's all sorts of fun things we're doing. Fun things I like to do.
Much love to all who made this possible. That is Great Lakes Brewery. You got your beer. Palma Pasta. Don't leave without your lasagna. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Nick, if you have old cables in a drawer or maybe a room full of old tech and old laptops, don't throw that in the garbage. The chemicals end up in our landfill. Go to RecycleMyElectronics.ca, put in your postal code, and find out where you can drop it off to be properly recycled.
Nice.
Got it? Of course, you, Nick, at the end, I say building Toronto skyline. Is there another way you want to be referenced in the outro?
Well, you said, it's sponsored by Fusion Corp Construction Managers, Inc. We love building buildings. We're passionate about building condos. That's our bread and butter. And we love the Toronto Mike audience today, too.
That's what we want to hear.
Okay.
And shout out to Ridley
and
Funeral
I'll see
Home.
you guys at the events. If anybody messes with me, I know martial arts. Kick your ass.
And if Nick messes with you, let me know, because I'm like the Nick Whisperer. Okay, I'll talk him off.
I just want to say one thing. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. And you know what? That's what we need. More lefties like you, who you can just have a nice conversation about these things. You don't have to agree. And you can listen to other points of view at the same time. That's how we learn, everybody.
See you all soon with Sir Jerry Levitan making his Toronto Mike return. See you then.